All right, lights, camera, Barstool. We're talking Ahsoka, breaking down episode 4 of the Star Wars series streaming on Disney Plus. The 4th episode, The Fallen Jedi, I believe, is the title of the episode. Ahsoka airing 9/8 Central on Tuesdays. We're about halfway done with this series, which is the first of what's going to be a continued arc, an heir to the Empire arc, as it's probably going to be dubbed or is being dubbed right now, as we move on to what seems like, I guess, the Empire Strikes Back part of the Mando era. That's how it's been described. Dave Filoni was not as involved with Mandalorian last season because he's been taking on Ahsoka, which is his passion project.
Maybe.
Yeah, he's been involved since day one, since the bad animated Clone Wars movie, but then since then, amazing.
Whoa.
And Clone Wars movie stinks. Come on.
Clone Wars movie is not very good.
I like the animation style. I like that.
But then he came out with the Clone Wars series, crushed it. Rebels crushed it. Helped launch Mando, crushed it. And now I think we just watched one of the best Star Wars episodes I think we've seen on any series, from Mando to Andor. Amazing episode. This show for sure helps if you've seen Star Wars Rebels, because there's shit that happens in this episode that if you've not seen Star Wars Rebels, you're probably like, what the fucking hell am I looking at right now? But I think if I gave it a rating, it's a 95 out of 100 if I'm talking Star Wars right now. Amazing episode. And we'll break down the two, I think, main takeaways from this as they get in their big ass hyperspace ring and jettison off to go find Thrawn, who is my favorite Star Wars character ever, and Ezra Bridger, who is from the Star Wars Rebels series. Thrawn has been in Star Wars media for decades, dating back to the Timothy Zahn Heir to the Empire book series, which was what's the best way to put it? It was the sequel that never happened to Star Wars. It was the book sequel that fans have always thought of as a sequel to Star Wars, and Filoni has pulled from it endlessly for his shows. What do you think, Ken Jack?
I loved it. I mean, this is kind of what Filoni does best. Like we were talking about the last few episodes, how like he really draws a lot of inspiration from like those old Western samurai things. Like this is the samurai episode. All the fight sequences, like just drawn from like Kurosawa, like all these old like samurai movies, and also Western vibes, obviously, as well, which those two things in movies like kind of orbit each other. The scenes where they would like cut back to wide and like you'd see like them going into like the stances and stuff. Yeah. So goddamn cool. Perfectly put together. All this, again, this is something I keep harping on it, but it is just so perfectly Filoni. Not a lot of dialogue, but every piece of dialogue is important. Everything they say is an important line, and there's nothing like, there's no filler. And I really love that about everything Filoni does. And like the sequences where like Ahsoka's going back and forth with Baylan, awesome. Their fight scene, awesome. Everything about it was really, really good. And we'll get more into some of the finer details. I think the only two negatives I would note from this entire thing, and I'm sure you guys would agree. Number one, I've had enough of Carson Teva. He was really cool for like an episode. It's cool to have a little guy in there. Carson Teva is too woven into the fabric of the Filoni verse. There's
got to be other pilots. There's got to be other X-Wing pilots out there.
There just has to be. I've had a little bit enough of him, and then the only other negative I think I would have is Hera Syndulla, worst mother of all time. Like literally call space CPS.
Yeah, she's the baddest mom.
You didn't need to bring the kid. One bump.
Well, yeah, why? She's like, she's not only abandoning an entire fleet to their own devices, but she's also just like, yeah, I may as well bring my kid along on this dangerous mission with no support other than like 5 X-Wings. Like it's crazy to me, but yeah, whatever. That's literally the only two negatives. Everything else about this show or this episode, overwhelming positive.
I will say I'm a little worried how involved they are making this kid in this series. Like, yeah, it feels like they're setting him up to be something.
He's gonna have the
like,
Force, obviously.
You can set it up down the road, but I don't. Nothing against child actors. It's just a tough thing to do. Like introduce a child character in a series that's all adults. Like it just
everything
the
has translated really well. And I know this is Star Wars, and the characters' names are Bleep Blop Flopo, and they have fucking elephant trunks and human ears. But the green hair, I don't know. It's in the uncanny valley for me. It worked fine in animation, and it's a little weird in live action. But again, we're not like, these aren't like real critiques. We're just kind of fucking around. But Gooch, but yeah, overall loved it.
Yeah. I just finished the episode before we started recording, and yeah, no, just to echo what you guys said, it's awesome the way Filoni, the way the fight sequences are shot, and the way the whole episode really is shot. These are the sequences, and this is the way I really like the action shot in Star Wars, because it's like everything is thought out. Like they're giving thought to their movements. It's not just a bunch of spinning around like a CGI Yoda spinning around and just waving his lightsaber. There's a thought in the way they move their feet, the way they're moving their hands, taking the hand off the saber onto it, using the Force. Everything feels like it has action, or everything feels like it has weight to it. So you're just so much more invested when they're just spinning around each other. There's actual tension there. The other thing, Ray Stevenson is eating up this fucking series.
Dude, he's so good.
Rest in peace, because boy, oh boy, this is one of the better Star Wars performances we've seen in a minute. He is incredible. These just short lines of dialogue, like when he's sitting on the stone and Ahsoka walks up. It's so
there's a really good craft to that character, the Baylan character, because that is a thing that plagues Star Wars so much. It's all connected to the same things, and even Mando, I've liked Giancarlo Esposito's Moff Gideon character, but the bad guys in Star Wars, the same thing with Marvel and DC. It's going to be all these types of properties. They all kind of fall in the same lane. I mean, fuck, Indiana Jones, like Nazi. It's like it's always like the same style of bad guy, and it's like the same idea. And Baylan doesn't. He's like, I don't want to start the war. He goes, Thrawn's going to start it, and he's like, there's this kind of middle of the road. Like he's not like he was a Jedi.
He's not Palpatine,
right? It's a refreshing thing where he's like Elsbeth, the who's a Night Sister, I believe, right? And she's running this whole hyperspace thing. Like clearly, she has a much bigger goal. And Baylan's not like along for the ride, but he like in a sense kind of is. Like he's kind of an offshoot to that, and that makes him, I think, an even more intimidating, badass villain because not everything is just end of the galaxy. We have to start a war and kill everybody, which I like to the character. Adds a great different type of depth.
You know who he reminds me of? What's his face from Mission Impossible 6 and 7?
Oh yeah.
Where he's like he's tied to Ahsoka's past, and he's like, I understand your side of things, but I've come to this side, and I understand that we have to tear down before we can build back up. And it's like, it really does remind me of God, now I'm blanking on his name.
Esai Morales in this.
Not Esai Morales, the one before.
Oh, you mean from
Sean Harris's character.
Yeah, Sean Harris's character.
Okay, yeah.
He's very like regretful. You know what I mean? He's like, and that really comes across on screen without having to say a lot of words. And the lines he says are so cool.
So cool.
When they're having that big talk, and then she takes out the lightsaber. He has a great line. He's like, of course it comes to this.
Yeah, he's like
inevitable. It's like so just perfect, man. And something cool about that character too. He, I think, is one of the very few characters you see Ahsoka talk to ever, including in Rebels and all that stuff, that actually knows what Anakin became. You know what I mean? Like, and just in the universe in general, that's very rare. Like that anyone knows who Darth Vader was, Anakin Skywalker. But like him knowing that and using that to like needle Ahsoka, I thought was really cool. And like him also like feeling her regret about those decisions, just perfect. 2 little mini boss fights. That's just all you need out of Star Wars. Two really nice
fight was amazing.
Fights.
That was fantastic. We'll talk about the other fight in a second, because I do think that it debunked a lot of fan theories this episode, which was always nice to see. But I like the Solomon Lane comparison. Even then, but even Baylan's like lesser of like world ending than that. It's like I really like.
He's Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
He's like the instrument for the person doing that. Yeah.
It's a good character.
You have a scalpel. So that makes Ahsoka the scalpel.
So two spoiler things really quickly. I don't want to get too into the weeds here. We'll keep it really simple. If you've seen Star Wars Rebels and stuff, you're going to know what these are anyway. So we don't need to get too, inside baseball. But Ahsoka at the end is in the world between worlds, which we've seen in Rebels before. Ahsoka's actually saved in the world between worlds. It's a big force connected realm, really not of anything. It would be assumed that she is not dead. That is the question. She is likely not dead, and her leaving the world between worlds is probably as simple as her just kind of leaving, like walking through one of the portals, that she is saved by the Ezra Bridger character in Star Wars Rebels that way. Would suggest going back and watching it. Very pivotal part of that series will tie in very greatly here. But that is why she's there, and that is where she is seeing Anakin. I believe Yoda's been like you've seen other characters in the past in this plane. Palpatine has tried to use it in the Star Wars Rebel story. So that is where she is. She's kind of in this in-between realm that is force connected, that very few Jedi, very few people of that power Sith have entered. That is where she is. She's not like she's not dead in the sense.
It's not in purgatory.
I wouldn't even say she's dead in the sense of like Harry Potter.
Is she at the?
No, you don't-
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Is she in the King's Cross station?
Missing is
Yeah,
that
she's
fucking
not with
Voldemort fetus.
the little Voldemort. No, like she's just in this different like projection that is like, again, force connected and in a realm between the worlds. So keep that in mind. They'll go more into it. I'd assume they're going to take a little bit of
Flatlining.
Yeah, she is flatlining.
Yeah, she is. She is. She completely flatlined. I assume they'll maybe explain it a little bit. They haven't done like a too much over explaining. They kind of want you to have seen the other stuff.
Yeah, it's good.
The other one is the other fan theory thing. Marrok, who is the
Dead Night Sister, which was sick as
yeah,
hell.
he's an Inquisitor, and there were a lot of theories of what that is because the Inquisitors, I guess, shouldn't be around anymore, technically speaking. He had green smoke come from him, which implies that he was resurrected and reanimated by Night Sisters, probably Elsbeth. We've seen that before, very famously from the Darth Maul family, Savage Opress. He died, and he had the green smoke come out in Clone Wars.
They also have that big fight where Dooku and Grievous invade the Knights Dathomir, and they just resurrect all of the old dead Night Sisters to fight against him, which was sick. It was like zombies versus the droids. It was sick.
There was some rumors that it was that it could really be Ezra, the character Gallenright from Force Unleashed, played by Sam Witwer, because he has voiced characters and he actually apparently voiced the character, played the character. I don't know.
He voiced Darth Maul.
There's all these crazy fan theories. Ended up just being kind of a cool little one-off, like, oh, it was basically a reanimated fucking Inquisitor or potentially one of the, brothers. So interesting, but it debunked a lot of Reddit theories.
Well, if there's anything I know about Star Wars fans, it's that they love when their theories get
I think
bashed.
people reacted well to it, though. Like, for once, it looked like people were happy that it played out the way it did, and it didn't lean into some crazy fucking, it's connected to this video game and then this book. It always reminds me of the campfire story. I've referenced it before on our podcast from Role Models, where it's like, and it's like Jonathan, the pizza delivery guy. It's like, oh God, it's like, just be straightforward. It's simple. All right, final thing, predictions. I guess the big prediction is, are we about to? I don't think we're going to see Thrawn yet. I think we maybe get Thrawn at the end of the next episode.
Yeah, I think my prediction is that we probably don't get another smoke bomb.
Do we get more Anakin?
The smoke bomb made me laugh out loud because they're in the middle of like this big fight and she's just like smoke bomb and just like runs away. Yeah. That's just one of those moments where, like, in the middle of a very serious fight, it was almost like a Arrested Development.
That's
like,
what we should cut that scene with Final Countdown.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think I would agree with you in that. I don't think we get Thrawn for a little bit because they still need to catch up to wherever she went. You know what I mean?
So they have to do a little bit more. That shit ain't easy.
Yeah, I mean, hyperspace.
They're gonna have to use the Purgles, the big space whales, by the way, which is basically how time travel or how hyperspace, not time travel. Time travel does exist in the Rebels lore.
It does.
How hyperspace was basically invented. So, do you think we see more Anakin? Probably.
Not a ton. I don't think they want to overuse him.
That's my prediction, is that the next episode will be cutting back and forth between the world between worlds, with her talking to Anakin like the whole episode, and then whatever's going on the outside.
I've seen some rumors. Some of the rumors are crazy.
It is Filoni. You got to remember that he, for all of his greatness, he does love fan service, and it works most of the time. So.
Yeah, but he's not like the way, like, if this is Obi-Wan chapter 2, I'd be like, yeah, they're obviously going to do that. You know what I mean? But like, I feel like Filoni is relatively smart in how he does this sort of thing. He loves fan service, obviously, but he also, I think, has done a really good job, obviously more than anybody else on the planet, in adding on his own lore and making that important. Like Ahsoka, the best Star Wars character to come out of anything since the first two trilogies, I guess. So like I think is pretty respectful and is smart on knowing like when to use his shots, I guess. Yeah.
No, I think
maybe some flashbacks.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely see flashbacks. I think we're going to see some older stuff. Again, there's some rumors. I won't reference any of them, and some things have been wrong so far, so I don't know if any are right or not. But I think there was the only thing I haven't really loved about the series is still that Sabine survived the lightsaber blade to the side of her. Not, I've seen some graphics. Like people were like, Qui-Gon was stabbed through the spine. She was stabbed through the side. I can.
It was like right here. It was like dead in the center of his fucking aorta. Like he'd be dead as hell.
The Star Wars fandom needs their own Doctor. What's his name? The NFL
James Andrews.
Yeah. Dr. James Andrews.
No, the NFL Twitter doctor.
Oh,
like immediately have like a diagnosis. That's what they need for Star Wars.
But I think this is very clearly for me. I think it's better than the last season of Mando. I think Mando 1 and 2 are are fantastic. I think Andor is like elite television beyond just Star Wars. I think this is right up there though with like right below Mando 1 and 2, and may end up being there at the end. I think they've done a great job. I think it's definitely more for like diehards than just like the average fan, but I think that's okay. I think that's fine for them to do that. I think if they can, Star Wars is, look, Rebels, Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett was a misfire. Obi-Wan was very disappointing, and I think just very mishandled, especially when you look at like how much Andor cost and how much like effort they put into it. If they just put more effort, not even, I don't want to say effort, if they just put more like of a budget and like a weight into Obi-Wan and the way it looked, I think Obi-Wan could have been good. But I think overall Star Wars for the most part has actually figured out the series space where
formula,
you can't say the same about Marvel. So enjoyed it. Episode 5 next week. Thrawn, man. If you don't know Thrawn,
you're gonna love him.
Man, he fucking ruled.
It's hard to even get like a comp. Like I fucking
Papa Smurf.
No, probably not. I'm trying to think like the fucking Trinity Killer or something like that. Like it's a very smart, methodical guy that is just like devious as hell. Like, damn,
he's just this awesome tactical fucking war criminal general, just that is so good at predicting moves. He's awesome. He's just awesome. I'm very, very excited for it. That's it. We'll break down Ahsoka, give a little reaction next week as well. It comes out every Tuesdays. It's not an ad for Disney Plus. Basically sounds like it. That's it. Ken, Jack, Gooch, I'm Jeff Lowe. We'll talk next time.